What's up, you guys, and welcome back to I Still Love Car Audio and Car Audio Tech Stuff. And today we're going to be discussing the top 3 things that can ruin your car audio system. So here we go. Okay, in no particular order, here we go. The number one thing that comes to my mind when ruining your car audio system, a lot of amateurs make this mistake. Unfortunately, I've seen some seasoned installers or car audio enthusiasts make this mistake. I've made this mistake before in the past, and that is using your amplifier's gain as your volume control. It is not for volume control. It works in relation to your volume, but it's not a volume control per se. What I mean is, if you look at your head units, most head units will have RCA voltage coming out at either 1 volt up to 4 volts. There may be some head units that go up to 6 volts, but for discussion's sake, we'll just talk between 1 and 4 volts. That is the RCA input signal that's going into your amplifier. If you look at your amplifier, a lot of amplifiers will have input gain as low as 0.9 volts all the way up to 4 volts, or vice versa, 4 volts or 8 volts all the way up or all the way down to 0.9 volts. That is a low signal. So if the signal's coming in low, then you have to turn the gain up on your amplifier because you're matching the input signal with the output of the amplifier, if that makes sense. So here's a better example. If your head unit has 4 volts of output from the RCAs going into your amplifier, that means your amplifier gain will be low because you don't have to increase the output to match the signal because it's already getting a strong signal. So when you turn your head unit volume up, the RCA output signal increases. So I know some head units will say 4 volts output, but when your volume is low, it's not giving you 4 volts. The voltage increases as you turn the volume on your head unit up. So if your amplifier's gain is set low because it's getting a 4 volt input, as you turn the head unit volume up, the output of your amplifier increases. It gets louder in relation to the voltage that's coming into it from the RCAs. If your amplifier has like 0.9 input, that's usually when you're using speaker level inputs coming off your head unit into the amplifier. If you look at the pictures, you'll see what I'm talking about there. But it works in relation to the signal that's coming into it, and then the signal that's coming into it determines how much volume or output is coming from the amplifier. If you use your amplifier's gain as a volume knob, a lot of times people get it wrong, and when you're turning your head unit up, it's already at its full potential, or it's already distorting well before you reach the height or the maximum volume level of your head unit. For example, back in the day, I knew this guy. I was new to car audio. He was new to car audio, and he was excited and proud that his system would be at max volume even with his head unit on like 5. That's because he had his gain turned all the way up thinking it's a volume knob. So if his head unit went all the way up to volume 40, for example, when you're at 5 and your system is at full blast, anything beyond 5 is pure distortion. Doesn't sound good at all. It's loud, it's blaring, but that doesn't mean it's clean, doesn't sound good, and you're destroying your speakers in the process. But instead, for example, my head unit goes all the way up to 40, just like the example that I mentioned. My head unit goes all the way up to 40, but I don't reach maximum volume or my maximum volume level until I get to around 35, 36, because I don't want to push it beyond that and cause it to clip. Clipping is when you send a dirty signal into your amplifier and it makes the speakers play not smooth but jumps. Speakers sound moves in waves, sine wave, smooth waves. If you're clipping the signal, that the sound is going to be read by the amplifier and your equipment like a jagged line, and that's where distortion comes from. So if you're pushing your amplifier too hard by using the gain as a volume knob, you're distorting your speakers, distorting the signal, making the amplifier clip. You're prone to blow everything that you have, and your whole listening experience as a whole is just going to be, it's not going to be good. So use your amplifier as a regulator, or use your amplifier's gain as a regulator to the input voltage that is getting from the RCAs, and that way you'll be able to hit a maximum volume without distortion. Best way to set your gain: turn your head unit all the way up to max volume being 40, back it down to maybe 35, and then slowly start turning your gain up until your speakers are at maximum volume without clipping. If it starts to distort and clip, you back the gain down. That way you know where your gain is set right. You're not distorting your signal. You're not ruining your equipment. And you're not using your gain as a volume knob, but you're using it in relation to your head unit as a volume regulator. Number 2 on my list of top 3 things that'll ruin your system is making your tweeters too bright. I've made this mistake too. All this stuff that I talk to you guys about is things that I've experienced over my 30 years of being in car audio. Making your tweeters too bright not only distorts your tweeters, ruins your sound, ruins your balance, your imaging, but it also causes ear fatigue, where ear fatigue is when your ears are just tired because your system is so loud that you can't even enjoy it anymore. Your ears are ringing. Now, we've all, well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of people that I've come in contact with, we make the mistake of thinking that our car audio systems should sound different than our headphones or our home audio systems. And that's another reason why, if you look at my other videos, I always ask you guys to listen with headphones, over the ear headphones, because you want all that sound to be balanced and cohesive in your ear and not all over the car. But when we get to do car audio systems, for some reason, a lot of us want our systems to be blaring loud and it's all over the place. And it's like, you can hear me blocks away. And I remember a guy told me years ago, he was like, you know, a system is good when you can hear the tweeters from way down the block. And I'm like, nah, man, that hurts. Not in a good way. People think, oh, you're covering your ears because the system is so loud and so clean. No. Loud, bright tweeters do not equate to a clean system. They're just loud and bright and overpowering. The truth that I've learned even more recently going to a lot of SQ shows is you want your tweeters to almost be like they're not on. You don't want your tweeters to be like psh, 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 screaming and ruining your soundstage and ruining your imaging. Your tweeters, I was telling a guy that I was helping tune his system recently, your tweeters are supposed to ride on top of your mid-range without being too bright, if you get me. Like, your mid-range is going to carry mid-range frequencies and it's going to be only so bright. Then you have your tweeters lightly ride on top of your mid-range with similar tuning curve, similar, not the same, similar tuning curve, and your tweeters will ride on top of your mid-range, and it'll bring up the overall sound stage, and it'll bring up the overall sound imaging that you're getting from your mid-range, and it'll take it to that level that it needs to be in order to make your system cohesive. It's hard to have a good sounding system without tweeters, but your tweeters are not supposed to be blaring louder than the rest of the system. That's the mistake we make. I hate to bring up other companies, but I'll have to. Do you remember Boss tweeters? Back in the day, they were like $1. You could get them at Pep Boys or at Thrifties, at any market. You could just snatch them off the shelf or a rack next to the sunglasses. They were really cheap tweeters, and they were painfully loud, screeching tweeters. But people thought, back in the day, at least the people I was around, back in the day, thought your tweeters being super bright means your system is going to be loud and clean. Bright tweeters does not equate to clean. The ultimate goal with car audio is to make your car audio system sound like your home audio or over-the-ear headphones. It's supposed to be the same. When I listen in my home, even though I have a basic home system, it's still cohesive. It's still the sub bass is good, the mid bass is balanced, the mid range is balanced, and the tweeter is balanced. It's not screeching. It's not a lot of sibilants being s's, screeching. You don't want that. That causes ear fatigue and it ruins your imaging, your sound stage. Same thing with my over-the-ear headphones. They're balanced. If you were to take your player, whether it be a phone or a DAP or a DAC dongle, whatever, plug it into your laptop, when you listen to a song, even on YouTube, as compressed as it is, it's still pretty balanced. You want that balance to be the same in your car. You don't want it to be any different. The car environment is a little harsher in comparison to your home or headphones when it comes to tuning and staging, but still, the goal is the same. You want your car to sound like your home. So when I listen to something in my home and then I put my headphones on, the sound is relatively the same. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of difference in sound, but not night and day. It's not going to be completely different from my home to my headphones. Same thing when I get in my car, from my home to my headphones to my car. I want it all to sound the same. That way I'm not like, yeah, my car sounds okay, but when I listen to my headphones, it sounds better, or when I listen to my home, it sounds better, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. You want it to all be balanced and cohesive, all the same across all listening formats, all different platforms, home, headphones, car. You all want it to be the same. So having your tweeters super duper bright does not mean your system is clean, because everything else could be muddled, poorly tuned, distorted. High bright tweeters is not going to all of a sudden make your system sound good. And number 3 on the top 3 things that could ruin your car audio system, car audio experience, at least for now, this is what I could think of. Number 3 is using improper wire size for your amplifiers. If your power wire is too small, your amplifier is going to be starved for power. It's going to be trying to pull power, like, excuse the rough example, but trying to suck a bowling ball through a straw. Your alternator, your battery, your car system as a whole, the car electrical system, is trying to allow voltage to pass through the power cable to the amplifier, and then the amplifier produces a sound, gives your system that extra oomph, especially for bass. Your bass amplifiers demand a lot of power, generally 4 gauge and up to thicker gauge. It needs that power to produce the output that it's capable of doing. So if you feed your amplifier too small of a gauge of wire, your amplifier is going to be working too hard trying to pull power and also produce power. It's going to cause it to distort. It's going to cause it to get really hot, and it could likely blow your speakers, ruin the amplifier, ruin the components inside, because it's working doubly hard now. It's working hard to pull power, and it's also working hard to produce power. But if you give it a proper power wire, a proper gauge size, the power input, the voltage is flowing freely into the amplifier, so therefore it can take that, turn around, and reproduce the power that it's designed to do just as freely without getting hot too fast. I mean, all amplifiers get hot because they're producing power, but with a small power gauge going in, it's going to make it work really hard, and it's going to make it get hot because it's working really hard, less efficient, and it's going to cause it to distort, not produce the power that it's rated to do. It could even cause that thinner power wire to burn up. I've seen it happen before. For example, a couple of my amplifiers take 4 gauge input. So if I was to put 8 gauge into the amplifier, it would produce, but it's going to get hot really fast. It's not going to produce as much power as it's rated to do. And again, it's going to likely distort my speakers because it's not getting what it needs in order to work. Look at it like your car. Like your engine, if you don't have enough oil in your engine is going to be working really hard. It's going to be getting really hot, and it's going to cause a lot of friction. Your engine's going to overheat. The car's going to overheat. It could destroy your engine. It's not going to produce the power that it's rated to do. Same thing with your amplifier. Same thing with all your components. You want your amplifier to work easily and not struggle to produce the power that is designed to produce. And there we go, my peoples. Those are the top 3 things I could think of right now that could ruin your car audio experience, ruin your car audio system, or ruin your equipment. Of course, I'll think of some other things later. I'll save that for another video. But right now, I just wanted you guys to know, especially those that are new to car audio or new to doing your own system, new to doing your own install. These are things that are key in order for your system to work as you envision, as you're buying all this equipment. This equipment is not cheap. And I would hate for you to spend a lot of your hard-earned dollars on this equipment thinking it's going to produce a certain sound for you, and then it not, and then you ruin your equipment. All that stuff could be really bad. I mean, I've been through it all, man. It sucks. And I made this channel so you guys don't have to go through what I went through, So hopefully you find this helpful. If you do, give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. It's very appreciated. And share it. Share it with people that you know that are new to car audio that you want to help as well. Hopefully they'll subscribe. Hopefully you subscribe, because again, that helps the channel. All this stuff I do is for free. So the least I ask is that you like, share, and subscribe. The top 3 things that I need, just like I just gave you a list of top 3 things to help you not waste your money and ruin your system. And until next time, please stay tuned.